What is going on? Week 1 is in the books. We are looking at week 2 now. We had an awesome week 1. We have a big announcement tonight as well. I teased a little bit on Twitter. We're going to be announcing our new co-host. Is going to be joining us every week during the season. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Of course, we'll be doing the fantasy roulette wheel as normal. Topics include A.J. Brown, Nico Collins, and Drake London, and a few others. We'll bring the forgotten fantasy player, of course, and as always, our nonsense draft. So hang tight.
Going for 2, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for 2, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What is going on, and welcome to episode 428 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I am your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. I am here, as always, with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. However, it took us 428 episodes to find somebody worthy enough to be a second co-host. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Chew. You can follow him at Father Dynasty on Twitter. What's up, Chew?
What's up, Jeff? Ryan, just glad that, I really thought maybe one episode ago I could have started, but I think I needed that one extra just to really lean into this. So very excited to be the third peg on the stool here.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Glad to have you. Of course, everybody that has seen you here as a guest before, you're also, a member of GoingFor2. And I just felt it was time to put a third co-host on the show here. Yeah, so how was your week 1?
It was up and down, actually, across if we're not including best ball, I think about 15 leagues or 14 leagues that I have to actively do something with. And I think I probably ended up being, 9 or 10 wins. So I think overall I benefited enough from a Javonte Williams here and there. Unfortunately, no Quentin Johnston's, but enough Emeka Bukas and a couple other guys that had kind of got me over the hump, but had plenty of A.J. Browns and some of that stuff that really had me furious. So looking forward to the rest of the season and getting past this.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, how was your week 1, sir?
I think 9-4.
Not bad. Not bad.
When he said that, I was trying to figure it out. I was some of these stupid leagues where it's 2 points a week. It's like, what did I really get?
Yeah, I had.
I fully support 2 points. I support that rule, but it's real stupid when somebody asks you questions like, "Oh, what was your record?"
Yeah,
I don't know. My 13 leagues, I have 26 wins and 8 losses. Like,
yeah.
Get out of here.
You just got to track keeping a lineup getting set at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I unfortunately did not have a great week. I think out of my 19 managed leagues, I think I won 8. So below 50%, not great. Definitely did not have a good week in my main league either. I had Nico Collins and I had Justin Jefferson, who did okay. And then I had Brian Thomas Jr. as my starting receivers. And then on the bench, I had Keon Coleman and Zay Flowers, who balled out. So I would have never started those 2 over those first 3, but it worked out that those 2 definitely did better than the 3 I started. So a little bit of a rough week, but overall, it's week 1. Things change quickly in this league, so I'm sure I'll be all right going forward. All right, let's get into the show. We'll pay some bills here first. Tired of long, boring drafts? Try Fast Draft. The quickest way to draft and win cash in under 5 minutes. Perfect for your lunch break or your coffee line. Use promo code GF2 and get a deposit match up to $50. Double the cash, double the action. Head to fastdraft.com. Use promo code GF2 and start winning today. And we're going to kick it off, as always, with our nonsense draft.
Attention, everyone. Let's mock draft.
All right, decided to keep it pretty simple tonight. We are just doing the best fictional rivalries, two characters that are synonymous with each other that we kind of know as enemies in the fictional world. And Chu, you're not really the guest, but we're gonna let you go first as the new co-host tonight. So you get the 101.
This one was ultimately pretty easy because I want to go with some OGs here, going Tom and Jerry. These are the originators of the rivalry,
Yeah.
and it's one you see in nature when you see cats attacking mice. So, I mean, it's a simple one.
Yep, all around rivalry. I like it. Tom and Jerry going old school. All right, Ryan, you got the 102 here.
I'm going with a rivalry because anytime these two see each other, it's on site. Fists are flying. Peter Griffin and the chicken.
Nice.
And like anytime they see each other on site, whole episode of fist fight. Love it.
Love it. I love it. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna go with another one that's kind of a classic. Going to the comic book world. I'm going Batman and the Joker.
Nice.
Pretty much synonymous. He's the main villain. You think of Batman, you think of Joker. I know he's got a bunch of other villains, but Joker is kind of the main one that everybody thinks of. Of course, it's been done different ways in different ways. Jack Nicklaus did it. Heath Ledger had his version. It's been done a couple different times, different ways, but I think that's a pretty good rivalry there, Batman and Joker. Chu, back to you at the 201.
This is one that near and dear to my heart, and furious that they moved the release date of this sequel, and that is Scorpion and Sub-Zero out of Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
It is central in every one of the movies, no matter how good or bad the movies end up actually being. No offense to the ones that were in the 90s. But it is, again, still when they rebooted this, it's crucial to that, crucial to all of the games for the most part. So, yeah, the Scorpion Sub-Zero.
Love it. Love it. Ryan, you got the 202.
In honor of Jeff's other podcast, we're going to the Star Wars world. And we are going Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh,
I know they want to say, people say Luke. It's not.
it's
It
not.
goes way back. It's deeper. I mean, my man went into hiding for years. They fought. He had the high ground. It's the true rivalry. I almost went Darth Maul and Obi-Wan, but we're going to stick with this one.
Yeah, no, I like that one a lot. That's a really good choice because you're right. I mean, they had the Obi-Wan series. They had a battle in there. Obviously they had when he was Anakin still, it basically turned him into Darth Vader. And then, of course, in the original series, when he basically gives up at that point and lets him strike him down so that he can become a Force ghost. Great choice. All right, I'm at the 203, and I'm going to go. I'm going to stay sort of in that same realm of sort of fantasy world, and I'm going to go Harry Potter and Lord Voldemort. Me and my daughter. Don't say yeah, the name that cannot be spoken, or however they say that. We just recently went and watched the play, the Harry Potter play here in Washington D.C. So pretty good. Highly recommended that. It was really really good. So Harry Potter and Voldemort is my second round pick here. Chu, you got your third round and last round pick here.
Well, first off, love the Voldemort pick. Well, I guess the Harry Potter and Voldemort. I probably shouldn't say out loud I love Voldemort. Yeah, I actually had a bearded dragon named Voldemort, so RIP on that one. But my third and final pick, and this is another one from back in the day, but of course the movies are still going strong now, Megatron and Optimus Prime.
Yes, that's a great one. I did not have that one on my list, and I'm highly disappointed because I grew up on Transformers. That's awesome. Great pick. All right, Ryan, 302.
We are going Super Mario and Bowser. I mean, Bowser is just taking his whole life on kidnapping Mario's girl. I mean, we got decades of great games of him just kidnapping his girl and Mario giving himself concussions to get him. I'm going with him.
Love it. All right. Let's see. My last pick here. I'm gonna go to. Let's go to Sherlock Holmes and Professor Moriarty. I love the BBC version of Sherlock Holmes. It was pretty awesome, and they've kind of done a little bit of different things with Sherlock Holmes over the years. But I love all the Sherlock Holmes movies, the TV shows, the whole nine, and Professor Moriarty, of course, is the main villain and all that. So that'll be my third and final pick of our nonsense draft.
Look at you trying to show the viewers that you're a reader.
I used to be a reader, not so much anymore. I don't have time for it anymore, but yes, I used to
Nerd.
read all the time. All right, it is time to get into some fantasy stuff.
Let's get ready for Armchair Fantasy Roulette.
All right, y'all know how this works. We're gonna hit the wheel. We got a bunch of topics. I think 15 topics loaded up tonight. We'll get through as many as we possibly can. Let's go ahead and get our first topic on the board here. So this one's from JJ Zacharyson on Twitter. He says, with Drake London banged up, Darnell Mooney out, Casey Washington led the Falcons in routes run per PFF. Despite being injured, London had 35% target share. So last I heard, Drake London is still going to play. So obviously that target share might still be there. But my question is really to Casey Washington, Chew. He actually, he was out there for a while. I think he had one big or a couple big catches. Is he somebody that we're looking at if Darnell Mooney continues to be out here?
I'm a little leery about that. I know in the offseason there was already some talk of, Casey Washington could be an interesting depth piece there in that wide receiver room, assuming everyone was healthy at that time. But I mean, I have a hard time believing that certainly that Casey Washington would be a 1-for-1 replacement for Darnell Mooney. And I know that Ray McLeod, again, I know they're not exactly playing the same role, but I think I would more likely think that it's going to be a split between touches wise between Casey Washington, Ray McLeod. Pitt's getting a little more involved, and I think we remember him being involved. And ultimately, it's London's line share of the targets. It's going to continue to be that way as long as he's standing on the field.
Yeah, I think when I originally put this in here, I thought that Drake London might miss this game, but last I heard, he is expected to play. Ryan, if London is limited at all, let's say he's in there, but he's sort of a decoy. Any interest at all in Casey Washington? I pulled up his stats here. He had 6 targets last week, 3 receptions for 33 yards. But as Zacharyson said here, he had he led the team in routes run.
So here's the thing. I see the upside and I understand the upside playing it because obviously he did have the snaps and was targeted. I don't know if Atlanta is going to be this high volume passing offense where we're going to trust that when you have Bijan, who's an absolute stud and showed it and is going to be involved in the passing game. Cal Pitts, who's still there. I don't think that we're going to see Penix dropping back and throwing 42 times every week. It's Tampa where they knew it was going to be a shootout. It just doesn't seem as a common thing for this team. Plus, if it is, it's a short-term thing, which I'm not comfortable starting him right now. It could be a long-term hold for him, but I'm not jumping over the moon for it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think in a deep league, obviously if you play in a deep dynasty league, there's probably not a ton on the waiver wire to begin with. If he's out there and, maybe you had a guy that you had to put in IR this week and you have that empty spot, I don't mind adding him just to have him on the bench in case something does happen. But yeah, I'm not going to plug and play him at all. I'm sure I got guys better on my bench that I can start over him. But
yeah, I don't want to start him.
Absolutely not. But it's worth adding if like I said, deep dynasty league, you get that roster spot. We had a bunch of guys if you had George Kittle, for example, and he went on IR, because that's exactly what happened in my league. Is I put him on IR. I got a bench spot. I had Njoku already, so I plugged in Njoku, picked up Casey Washington just to see if anything happens with him. So in that case, if you're in a regular redraft league, though, he's worth just leaving on waivers for now. All right, let's get to our next topic here. All right, this one is from Dave Kluge on Twitter. He's talking about his he was doing his hits and misses, and one of them that he hit on is Ricky Pearsall. He says he's been gushing about Ricky Pearsall since the days before the Super Bowl. He's a super athlete, yards after catchability, fits perfectly in the Kyle Shanahan system, had 108 yards, and was a fingertip away from a touchdown in a bigger week. Obviously, we've got some injuries with possibly Purdy being out. Jennings is possibly going to be out. Kittle is already out. Ryan, I'll go to you first on this one. What are your thoughts on Ricky Pearsall?
I think if Purdy's in there, he's a must start at this point. You can comfortably put him in the flex. Possible wide receiver 2 upside. He has the ability there and the target share. I don't know how it's going to look if Purdy's out for an extended period. Who's the backup there now? Jeff?
Mac
Mac
Jones.
Jones.
Which is not terrible. Like I'd still probably be comfortable playing him at the flex if I had to. But he has upside. A lot of people liked him coming out. They drafted him highly. It makes sense. And they are beat up because that's what the 49ers do is get beat
Yes,
up.
that's what we do. We get beat up for sure. One thing that surprised me is because I kind of pegged him for the Deebo Samuel role, and he really didn't play that role. He played more of the Brandon Ayuk role, where he was down the field, catching those passes. I thought he'd be the behind the line scrimmage guy, catching those short bubble screens, and he really didn't do that at all. So I think that helps his value quite a bit. Being that down the field guy, and he had, like he said, the 108 yards in his first game, and looked good doing it. And he was literally a fingertip away from catching that touchdown pass, which would have made him even a bigger game. What are your thoughts on Pearsall, Chew?
Real quick.
Go ahead.
The Deebo Samuels role doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, can we stop with that?
He's
It's
a
not like it's a one of one thing that doesn't exist. You're closer to having your running back do that role than another wide receiver and finding somebody who does it. That's we need to move on from that as a community.
Agreed.
Sorry, sorry. Now, true. My bad. I was just it just triggered me a little bit.
Well, I mean, if anything, that's evidenced by how he's being used over in Washington. It's like, yeah, he's in the role that he essentially was in San Fran, working over the middle of the field and stuff, because that's just like he can't be the Ayuk role. Like it's just not really within his wheelhouse. So it's like it's his role because just that's his role. Like
that's his role wherever he goes.
Yeah,
that role or not, that's his role.
Oh man, but I mean, for Pearsall, I think in a weird way, I think the 49ers have been pretty strategic in the last couple of years of how they've arranged their backup quarterback. Sometimes not needing them, which is fine. But I think they've understood the importance of needing a backup quarterback, a very good, capable backup quarterback. I think Pearsall is quarterback proof in the sense of I don't care which one of those guys is a quarterback. I would prefer Purdy, obviously, but especially with Kittle out, I mean Pearsall's going to feast. It's him and CMC, and I believe in Shanahan and whatever he's going to cook up to get both of those guys most of the work in that offense.
Yeah. So you asked who the backup was. Obviously, it's Mac Jones, and I think he fits that style of offense pretty well, right? I mean, he's always been a conservative player. Essentially, Shanahan will draw up the play. This is where you're going to go with the ball, and as long as he's on schedule, it's going to work out for him. I think Mac Jones fits that perfectly. So yeah, Ricky Pearsall, I think whether it's Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, I think is still startable. All right, let's get our next topic. Oh, Kenneth Walker. This one is from Bryce DeGroat on Twitter, and he's talking about Kenneth Walker. 40% snap share, 10 carries for 20 yards, only had 5.4 fantasy points. Not to mention that Charbonnet looked really good behind him, so it wasn't a matter of the offensive line not blocking properly because Charbonnet actually looked pretty good. Where are you with Kenneth Walker here, Chew? Is this a week one fluke, or is this something to be worried about?
I think to be a little bit worried about. I mean, I feel like how we've talked about I understand he's currently hurt, Tajay Spears. Like, I think we talk about the Pollard Spears dynamic in the way that I think we should be applying it to Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet is the one that could actually usurp Kenneth Walker, and Kenneth Walker is very good. Kind of a bit of a different skill set of Kenneth Walker having that home run threat ability. Charbonnet, not quite that, but again, a very good all around back. Loved him coming out of college, and I think with how the contract is going with Kenneth Walker and everything, I think a new offensive coordinator and everything, I think they're kind of looking to not want to get Kenneth Walker out of there. Again, I feel like running backs on the last year of their contract is when they use them up as much as they possibly can. But I mean, Walker has been fragile for a lot of his career once getting in the pros. So I think they just want to be able to know what they can depend on with that offense. And at the moment, Walker is not quite it, having a horribly inefficient day there. Charbonnet wasn't tremendously efficient, but he did get the meaningful touch with that touchdown. So I'd be concerned.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan? Where do you fall with Walker?
So like I think it's a full blown committee, and I think it's going to be a full blown committee all year. Which, with how Walker was viewed coming into the season, while his draft capital dropped, he was still viewed as an RB1 for his team and not split. I don't think that's the case. I think Charbonnet is going to be more consistent week to week just because he's kind of a little more well-rounded. where you mentioned Walker has that upside. I think Walker's going to have a couple huge weeks where he goes for like 8 carries, 140, and a touchdown. And then he's going to have weeks like this where he disappears. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. He was somebody I've sold in the offseason, and I don't regret it at this point. Like, part of me, like right before the season, has that like normal regret that you're going to have. But dude, it's committee. I mean, 12 carries to 10. Total touches were 13 to 12 in Walker's favor. That's a committee.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, that's a full blown committee, and as big as one as we had, that 50-50 split.
Yeah, I'm with you both. And the only thing that I saw when watching this game, because I watched every snap of this game, being that it was against my team, and it seemed like Charbonnet, when he was on the field, they weren't quite sure if they were going to pass or run. Whereas when Kenneth Walker was out there, they were almost positive it was going to run. There's actually a clip on TikTok that showed Fred Warner sneaking over to the right before the ball was even snapped because he knew that it was going to Kenneth Walker, got him in the backfield. Whereas with Charbonnet, it was a little bit more of a question mark. He's a little bit better of a pass catcher. He was actually in a lot of the RPO options where they were, in the shotgun, whereas Kenneth Walker was more of a traditional, handed off kind of thing. So I think in that sense, Kenneth Walker will have his days against teams that maybe aren't as keyed on him. So I think he's still a viable fantasy option, but not what we thought he was previous to week one, where we thought he'd be an RB1 getting the full volume. Like Ryan said, I think it's going to be almost a 50-50 split. Ride the hot hand. If Kenneth Walker is breaking off big runs, they'll stay with Kenneth Walker. If it's not working or they get behind, it goes to Charbonnet. So a nightmare for fantasy for sure.
I think Walker's a hold, though, because you're not going to get value out of him.
Agreed.
And I think Charbonnet's a sell, even though he's a little bit better. I think because whenever there's a back sneaking up a little bit like this, the hype's there. Like, people are much more hyped about him when they're both capped in their ceiling. I would try to sell Charbonnet at this point.
Well,
Yeah.
honestly, with Walker, they're about to play the Steelers. Wait one more week, let him have another probably similar week to this week, and then they're about to have, I think it's the Saints and the Cardinals. So, like, buy before that happens and hope that the current Walker owner is fatigued by that. But
Yeah.
He's going to be so cheap in 2 weeks by that time.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to, in Dynasty, you're going to be able to throw a third at him.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Love it. All right, let's get to our next topic. We go from one disappointment to another disappointment. Talking about Nico Collins here, and the quote is, if you could swap him being Nico Collins for another wideout like Brian Thomas Jr. or Malik Neighbors, he would make that move. Is it fair to be panicking on Nico Collins after week one, Ryan?
So this one's hard for me because I love the player and I love the quarterback. But if we're talking redraft, because it's redraft season now, I'm panicking because that offensive line is
Atrocious.
He got pressured on 46% of his dropbacks. Like, that's absurd. I'm terrified for Stroud's life, which something happens to him, who's a good quarterback struggling behind an offensive line. Imagine what a backup will do.
Hey, Davis Mills.
Yeah.
$7 million man.
Imagine Davis Mills just running for his life there. I'm worried about every single piece of that offense, including Nico Collins. If I could move him for Brian Thomas Jr., I've done that before the season, but I would definitely do that now. If it's Dynasty, he might be a buy and just hold and suffer through it. But if we're talking for this year, I think it's a sell because this offense sucks.
Yeah.
And this line's terrible.
They look pretty terrible, and I kind of I had him on my DFS show as my lock of the week because I was like, he's the only one out there, right? They had injuries to Christian Kirk, kind of left him as the only veteran out there. He had a couple rookies, Xavier Hutchinson, who hasn't really done a whole lot. I was like, he'll get all the targets, and he barely had the time to even get the ball to him because he was Stroud was constantly under pressure. So definitely, I think time to panic for sure if you're a Nico Collins truther like I am. How do you fall on this one, Chew?
Yeah, I didn't really understand. I mean, I'm a huge fan of both Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. So the fact that those guys both got to go there, initially my thought was like, well, damn, like, I mean, Nico's the guy there. Higgins can have that complimentary, be opposite him, and that's going to be a nightmare for defenses. But then they actively strip the offensive line down. I'm like, what are you doing? Do you not?
And it was already bad.
Yeah, I was like, all right, you trade the one thing that was even remotely good in Tunsil, but it was after Stroud's good rookie season, a great rookie season. I mean, and then it slumped. You get rid of the OC, you strip down the O-line. What do you think is going to happen? Like, you can't put weapons that he doesn't have time to throw to. If anything, you build the O-line, have subpar weapons, and then add the weapon the next season or what have you. Like, I don't know what they're doing. And definitely in Dynasty, if it could be someone to hold now, because I don't think you'd get, what you would want necessarily to trade him to someone. But I mean, if it's between these three, Malik Neighbors 10 times out of 10, I believe in Russell Wilson still, but if he really falls off hard, Jackson Dart waiting in the wings, I would make that every single time.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And I'm a Nico Collins truther. Like I said, I even have a drop that I created just for Nico Collins on my DFS show whenever I call him out. But that week 1 showing was pretty brutal. So unless they can get some things fixed with that offensive line, I don't see it getting any better for sure. All right, let's see what we got next. All right, we got our first sit-start question here, and he's got 3 different receivers here for a flex spot. George Pickens, Keenan Allen, or target-leading receiver Hollywood Brown, who had 16 targets in week 1. Chew, which one of these 3 guys you put in a flex spot this week?
Man, it feels weird that these 3 names are together and we actually have to think about it, huh?
Yeah, especially with Keenan Allen being on there. What did he, retired a minute ago?
I know, right? I mean, honestly, I'd probably go Keenan Allen. I do think that I'd seen something about the neutral pass rate, and I know seeing the Chargers among the top 5 of them was a very un-Harbaugh thing to see. But I don't think it was necessarily an indictment on Hampton. Hampton led that backfield, and I think will continue to do so. But with the weapons that they have there, I mean, Keenan Allen stepped in and just picked up right where he left off when he was back in LA. I trust that he's going to have, again, Ladd McConkey's going to have a Ladd McConkey role. Keenan Allen, again, is stepping in and doing exactly what he did before. Quentin Johnson is going to be the basically Gabe Davis treatment of, is he getting a touchdown or is he not? But Keenan Allen's going to be a PPR darling like he always has been. And, between the other 2 of Pickens and Hollywood, I have a little bit of nervousness for Hollywood. I trust that he probably should still get a decent target volume. Again, not what he got in week 1 necessarily. And with Pickens, I think he can pick it up. But again, his might be a bit volatile as well. I think they're Cowboys playing the Giants.
Giants, yep.
So I do like that for them. I do think the Giants defensive line, however, is going to figure something out considering they have so much talent on there and wreak havoc for Dak. So it's weird to say it, but I'll take the old man in this group and Keenan Allen.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's got a good matchup too against the Raiders, which when he was a Charger his first go around, he owned the Raiders. So if that continues, then obviously that'll be good. Hollywood Brown had those 16 targets, but he gets the Eagles this week. That's a really, really tough matchup for him. Yeah. Where do you fall, Ryan, with this one? You got
I would agree with Keenan. If it was almost any other matchup, I would have said Hollywood Brown. But against the Eagles, I'm going with Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I'm going to sweep
and
it.
I trust Dallas is another team. I trust nothing.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we are sweeping that one. We're going Keenan Allen across the board, which is crazy to think because, like I said,
it's 2025.
Yeah, exactly. All right, this one is from a friend of the podcast, Script, P2W Fantasy on Twitter, talking about Tyler Warren in his NFL debut here. He was the number 2 tight end in targets at 9, number 2 in catches with 7, number 3 in yards at 76, and number 3 in fantasy points with 14.9. And he led the Colts in basically everything. And then Daniel Jones actually looked pretty solid here. Rest of the season, Chew, what do you think of Tyler Warren going forward here? Rookie tight ends don't typically give us a lot, but when we do have those ones that pop, they really pop.
Yeah, I love Tyler Warren. I initially seeing him go to the Colts, I was like, I can be worried that they don't really, focus on the tight end necessarily. It's like, yeah, but they've never had Tyler Warren. I think the draft capital that he got there was very indicative of what was to come. Even getting a rushing attempt, I don't think it was only for a couple of yards, but the fact that they're doing that. And it could have been because they're whooping the Dolphins' ass, but
yeah,
he's clearly one of the focal points in this offense. I think it's very much he's kind of taking, and not one for one, but kind of Josh Downs is kind of being suppressed a bit so Tyler Warren can thrive. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I mean, if that means Downs has less opportunities, but from a real football perspective, that does nothing but help out Daniel Jones. So I think that Daniel Jones is stepping into a great opportunity as a whole with this offense. Again, he's had Saquon before and stuff, but this total offense, I think, is the best he's ever had. And I'm not saying that, this is going to be some like breakout for the Colts necessarily. It might, but Tyler Warren, I think, is going to be by the end of the season, at worst, of course, top 12. I think that should be understood. But I think top 8's not crazy, and it might kind of be up and down, but I think his target share is pretty secure. It's just what Daniel Jones are we getting from week to week. So that's kind of the plan there.
Yeah, with Daniel Jones too. I mean, he has supported fantasy options in the past. As an NFL quarterback, he hasn't been great, but he has supported some good fantasy options. So if Tyler Warren is his go-to guy, I don't mind putting him in my lineup each week. What about you, Ryan? Where do you fall with Tyler Warren?
I think he is a top 5 tight end this year out, the rest of the year out. Like if I'm starting a tight end, if it's not Bowers, Trey McBride, Laporta, I'm probably going to start him over almost anybody else because of that target share, because of the talent, because of what's there to compete with. Shout out Michael Pittman, though, killing it on his way back. But like, long as this sounds weird to say, as long as Daniel Jones is at the helm, I'm comfortable starting him and viewing him as a high value tight end.
Yeah, that
Like
is great.
he's a bona fide superstar.
Yeah. I've even got a league. I mean, I had drafted Kittle where he fell a little far, and then I drafted Warren because he fell too far, and I was just like, I just got to get him. So now with Kittle going down, I'm like, I'm losing nothing. I'm going to plug in Warren and not have to be like, all right, I'm going to stream Theo Johnson and hope for the best.
Yep.
You have gained mental clarity because you have to deal with that decision every week.
Yeah, exactly.
And gain sanity.
Yep. Yep. Perfect. That's a perfect compliment right there of those two guys for sure. Yep. Good stuff. All right. Let's get to our next topic. We got time for a couple more here. All right. This one I saw come up on my feed. Thought it was pretty interesting to look at these two guys, Bo Nix versus JJ McCarthy. And who do you think is better? Of course, McCarthy had a rough start and then a strong finish. Bo Nix was sort of all the hype, all the rage coming into the season, but kind of struggled in week 1. I'll go to you first, Ryan. Where do you fall with these two quarterbacks? I kind of think I know where you're going to fall, but I want to hear you say it anyway.
I don't think you do. I love JJ McCarthy, and I liked him coming out a lot. I like Bo Nix a lot too. I think they're both great. I have tons of Bo Nix share. I wish I had more McCarthy. I think he showed what he had at the end of that game after getting his feet wet a little bit, and that he was not afraid to ball and was able to do it with his legs, which I didn't realize he was as apt of doing. I think we're a little worried about Bo Nix. It'll come around. That was a tough game to start the season, and there's a lot to get there. I think they could both finish around the same area, but I really like McCarthy.
Yeah, I thought you'd go McCarthy. I remember you put your stamp on him in the offseason that you really liked McCarthy and you were all on him.
And I think that offense is good for him. Like I think the fit of Justin Jefferson is that safety blanket, and eventually getting Addison back, and Aaron Jones and Hawkinson. There's a lot there to like. I like his weapons a lot more.
Yeah,
too.
Agreed.
And coaching.
What about you two? Where do you fall with these two guys?
Man, I was not a fan of McCarthy coming out. I think that so much of how he was being talked about was he was being elevated because of the ultimate team success, and which I mean he was. I'm not saying he did nothing, but I feel like how he was being talked about was like they won because of him, and I don't think they won in spite of him. But I think he was a part of the team and they won. But I think there was so much incredible talent and dominance on his senior collegiate team that it helped to kind of elevate everything around him. And I do think that it's pretty great that he got to go to Minnesota, where you see all these quarterbacks that go to they have to win in spite of just the trash heap around them. He goes to arguably the best situation. People talk about that coaching staff and how good they are with quarterbacks, whether it's rookie ones or reforming ones that have fallen. And yeah, the weaponry around him and the defense that is again helping support keeping them in games. So it couldn't have been a better situation for him. And I do think he can do okay. But I'm hard pressed to bet against Bo Nix. What he did last season, no one expected that to happen, at least to the level that it did. And I think that, that was a rough start for them. I think it was 3 turnovers, the fumble, and the two picks. Very uncharacteristic of him from last year. So I think he'll right the ship. I think McCarthy looked terrified for much of that game, but he flipped a switch, and you saw him with especially that rushing touchdown. Like he turned it on and made it happen. So I'm hoping that can balance out, and maybe the first half of the game's not so rough for him. But I'm going Knicks here.
Yeah, it was tough for me, right? Because asked this before week 1, and it was Knicks, and it wasn't even close for me. Even though I did like McCarthy, and then seeing him in this game here at the first 3 quarters, I was kind of like, okay, this is not good. And then all of a sudden he came on, and one thing that really surprised me is because one thing that people talk about with McCarthy is he didn't have a strong arm. But some of those throws he made towards the end there, especially that one to Justin Jefferson in the end zone where there was 2 defenders on both sides, and he got that ball right there in the middle there and, had a strong enough arm to get to him. I was impressed. I was thoroughly impressed. And like Ryan said, his ability to move around in the pocket, that rush at the end where he got the touchdown, I didn't know that he had that in him. So that was obviously a plus as well. But I do still like Knicks. I would lean Knicks a little bit more over McCarthy, even despite the rough week 1. I think Knicks got out of character in week 1. He was taking too many chances. I think last year he was not playing it safe, but he was taking the play that was given to him. Whereas I think in week 1, he was trying to force too many things. Maybe a little bit of that hype got to his head and he was just trying to do too much. If he gets back, settles in, and just does what the defense gives him, I think he'll be fine. And I think if I'm picking one for the rest of the season, I think I'm taking Knicks over McCarthy right now.
Same for Dynasty. It's a 3-year difference, though, in age.
This is true. True.
Bo Nix, an old man.
Yeah, you're right. He was in college for a while. That's for sure.
He's that super senior.
Yep.
Shout out for the partying.
Let's go. Let's see. I think we got time for at least one more. All right, let's get Justin Fields here. This one's from Joe Orico on Twitter. Justin Fields currently is a top 10 scoring running back this week. 16.8 fantasy points from his rushing alone. Tack on the 200 yards, another touchdown through the air. He's a cheat code. I know we talked a little bit of this in the offseason, Ryan, but how impressed were you with Justin Fields in week 1?
I thought his throwing was a lot better than I expected. And that connection with Garrett Wilson from college just came right back to him. Dude, he's locked and loaded. Like that rushing, this offense is perfect for what he does well. They're able to run the ball with their with their 2 backs and do play action off it with him able to run and them doing those zone reads. It really opens up the field. I don't know if it's going to come to a lot of wins, but for fantasy, rushing upside plus some weapons and some garbage time equals fantasy gold. Like I'm comfortable starting him every week.
If he's starting in fantasy, he's definitely a starting quarterback. And you're right.
Even bad matchups, I'm starting them because of that rushing upside.
Yep, absolutely. What about you, Chi? Where do you fall with Justin Fields?
Yeah, I mean, I was honestly a little worried him losing his left tackle right before the season was about to start. But I mean, going up there, and I mean, maybe it was some anger against that team that let him go. But yeah. I mean, they clearly have kind of designed and entrusted this offense to Justin Fields and what his strengths are. And I mean, it kind of looks like a little bit muddied version of the Jalen Hurts, where it's like, hey, can you throw it like 20 times, give me like 200 passing yards? Hopefully a passing touchdown, but probably a couple of rushing touchdowns. Like he threw, his accuracy was like 70, 72%, something like that. Like if you're playing an efficient brand of football like that, minimizing mistakes and of course peppering in the rushing touchdowns. I mean, they have a good defense, plenty of superstars over on that team. So I mean, it's good for real football for the Jets, and I mean for Justin Fields, it's looking good.
Yeah, I was trying to look up real quick. Do you know who their backup is? Like, if they were to bench Justin Fields, who is their backup quarterback?
I think Tyrod's still there.
Is it Tyrod?
Because they had Jordan Travis, but then he retired, and then I think they got.
It's Tyrod.
Yeah, they drafted somebody, but I can't remember who it is. Some guy from Mizzou, maybe.
Yeah, so there's nobody exciting behind him. So essentially, I think Justin Fields, unless he plays absolutely atrocious, I don't think he's getting benched.
Yeah,
good for him getting to not worry about a backup stealing his job.
Yeah, right? For once, for sure. All right, I think we got time for one more topic here. All right, this one's going back to J.J. Zachariason again, talking about Amarion Hampton. Handled nearly 94% of the Chargers running back rushes. Only saw a 6% target share, but he ran a route on 61% of the LA dropbacks. Najee Harris had a 15% route participation rate per PFF. Chew, I heard you mention Hampton a little bit earlier. So, obviously not great as far as fantasy points go, but as far as the usage and the potential there, looks pretty good, right?
It looks fantastic. I mean, I'm glad to see another big bruising UNC running back entering the league and having some success. I was on Javonte Williams, so I'm glad that some things are going good for him now. But Amari and Hampton can experience immediate success. I understand that Najee Harris is there. There's still the weird mystery of what actually happened with the firework incident. How is he actually now with the eye and the eyesight and all that kind of stuff? But obviously he played, so good enough to play. But I do think Harris's role will maybe increase a little bit, but I do very much think what they were saying with where they drafted Hampton was it's a Harbaugh offense. It's going to be ground and pound to an extent, but again, it was surprising how much they passed the ball. But I'm not tremendously worried about that because, I mean, if Hampton's going to get the lion's share of the touches on the ground, he is also a capable pass catcher. So again, yeah, if he's able to get a couple of those as well, weird to say that Hampton is kind of that perfect balance of he's not really brought down too far if it's standard half PPR or PPR. I think he can kind of his variability is not going to be too big regardless of which of those leagues you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Hampton?
Oh, dude, I think we saw the bottom barrel of what he's going to do this year because that was against a good defense in the Chiefs and his team passed a ton with his quarterback being on fire. They're going to have more leads, especially if they're winning like that. He's going to get more carries. He's going to get clutch time. I know you mentioned Najee Harris is, I mean, it can't hurt his vision that much worse, right? But like Hampton's in a really good spot, and he could be in that 20 carry game range. I'm in on him. I think it's before it's done.
Before the blow up game happens, and you can't get him for nothing.
And if you think you're overpaying now for him, chances are that's going to be underpaid a month.
Yeah, I agree. I think 100% what y'all said. And I think the Chiefs, like you mentioned, good defense. And I think they came out thinking that, they want to run the ball. So they're going to sell out to stop the run, which is kind of what they did. And then Herbert and company just basically passed all over them. So I think game plan kind of took Hampton out of the game a little bit. And I think going forward, teams look at this game and go, okay, they can throw the ball if they need to. They still have Justin Herbert. They still got some good weapons there. They'll soften up a little bit, and then Hampton will find some more room to run and break off some big ones. So I think it's wheels up for Hampton for sure.
Can I ask something that's not on the wheel? Just to hear your guys' opinion since we're here and talking
Yep.
to rookie running backs. Where are we now, and how are we feeling about Genty in that first performance?
I'll let you go first, Chew.
I'm somewhat uneasy. I mean, I think with the preseason, you're like, oh my God, look what he's doing. Look what he's not doing. I get it. I understand there could be some concern, especially now that we're getting into the season and this is what's happening. In a weird way, I know like the offense is not going to have to live and die by him because I do trust Geno Smith in terms of what he's able to do, even when it's just him. Hopefully Brock Bowers healthy. Jacoby Myers, obviously Trey Tucker and Deontay Thornton, those guys, like it's a good group around them, but you don't want it to be that you hope Ashton Genty is just kind of okay. Like that's not who he was in college, and that's not acceptable once he gets to the NFL. That's the case. So I'm worried about it for sure. I don't think I got him anywhere in Dynasty. Weirdly, thankfully, I think I missed him by one pick and had to pick Hampton. So good for me. But yeah, I'd be pretty nervous if I had him in Dynasty, just thinking I have to keep him because what else am I going to do? But geez, you're waiting for that big game. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I kind of compare it to a little bit of when Jonathan Taylor came into the league and he started off really slow and people kind of panicked on him a little bit. And then he ended up, I think, being a top 10 running back that year towards the end because he got the 21 opportunities, right? 19 carries, targets in the passing game. The usage is definitely there. Obviously struggled only 38 yards rushing, which is not great, but I think there's better days to come for Genty, and I think you could take that similar path to Jonathan Taylor, where his second half of the season, I think their bye week. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Bye week 8, so literally right in the middle of the week. I mean, the season. I think 9 through 17. I think he can be a monster going from with this team. What about you, Ryan? Where do you fall with Genty?
I'm a little worried because it looked like he was having was missing some openings and some holes, and his burst is a little bit nerve-wracking because we saw it against smaller schools, and he was the whole offense that got bought up a little bit in college against like Penn State at the end. That coming into it scares me a little bit seeing this, and I know she kind of talked about their weapons being okay and fine, but other than Bowers, these aren't guys like Jacoby Myers is a good piece, but as your wide receiver one, he ain't that good of a piece.
Yeah.
Like it's very easy to focus on him and Bowers. And I know Bowers can get over because he's an absolute monster. You got to be an absolute freak of a running back to produce on that bad of an offense without being like a superstar.
Yeah, absolutely. Time will tell for sure with Genty. Let's hope that it's the Jonathan Taylor type scenario where he ends up beasting towards the second half of the season. All right, it is time for our prop bets of the week.
Prop bet of the week.
All right, if you weren't here last week, we changed the format a little bit. I actually give these guys the 3 picks, and they get to pick the higher or lower on these guys. And Chew, the first one that I have here. So we're doing a theme. It's old faces and new places. So these guys are all going to be on new teams this year. And before I do that, let me just plug, obviously, our Underdog sponsorship. Make your calls, hit your picks, and win big with Underdog Pick'ems. Sign up using promo code GF2 and get up to $1,000 in bonus bucks. That's free money. And then we're about to show you how easy it is to build your parlay. And Chew, you got this first one here with Deebo Samuel, higher or lower than 54.5 receiving yards. Matchup is against the Packers on Thursday night.
Well, first off, Kyle, appreciate you in the chat. Just fortunate to be here in the as the third co-host. This one's I'm slamming the under. I would be so nervous. It's the combo of picking Deebo Samuel after seemingly he had a pretty good camp. He was spoken very highly of. Of course, you had McLaurin holding out, so you're kind of waiting for see what's going to happen there. But I mean, he had 77 yards week 1, and that was really tremendous. There was probably 1 or 2 catches actually that kind of got away from him where he could have gotten closer to 100. But I feel like it happens for a lot of guys where there's 1 or 2 catches that didn't happen. And I mean, last week again, I'm not comparing Jane Daniels and Jared Goff. They played 2 different brands of quarterbacking, but I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 45 yards, and he was the highest yardage for a receiver. Sam Laporta did actually break that mark and get closer to 80, I think. But man, I would feel so uncomfortable picking the over on this one. So I'm going to stick with the under, and I believe that the Packers are going to have trouble dealing with Daniels, but it's still the Packers defense, and they were menacing on week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the short week too doesn't help either.
Yeah.
And I think I saw a stat, granted they don't play a ton, but Washington has not won in Green Bay since 1988. That's a long time.
Man.
So that's a tough place to play for sure. I know it's not going to be cold like it normally is in in December and November, but still a tough environment for sure. All right, Ryan, you get Devontae Adams, of course, now with the Rams. Higher or lower 59.5 receiving yards for Adams?
We are keeping it low tonight. One, he had super low yards per target, 6.4. And the Titans defense is really good. Like we were just talking about Bo Nix struggling and them struggling. That's a really good defense. And they're going to be one that surprises and upsets a lot of people. I don't love the matchup, and he's still the wide receiver 2 there. I'm not trusting it.
Yep, I think I'm with you both on this. I think Adams. I'm going lower on both of these, on Deebo and Adams as well. I like Adams, and I think he's gonna have a good season with that offense. But I think 59.5 is a little bit too steep. I think it's still Puka Nacua. Adams might be more of a red zone threat, so I'm going lower as well with y'all. All right, and I'll wrap it up here with another old face in a new place. Aaron Rodgers, higher or lower 1.5 touchdown passes. He is playing Seattle, and they are at home. So I am going to take the higher based strictly on the fact that they're going to be at home. I do think he gets 2 touchdown passes. Obviously he had 4 this past weekend. One of them was those little cheap little pitches in the front, whatever they call those little plays. That was a cheap touchdown, but it still counted as a touchdown. But I do think he can get 2 touchdown passes versus Seattle. We saw Brock Purdy last week. I know they missed a bunch of field goals, but Purdy had some really big pass plays. And I don't think his receivers are anywhere near as good as DK Metcalf. So I think Aaron Rodgers goes over his 1.5 passing touchdowns. All right, so let me recap. We are going under or lower on Deebo Samuel's 54.5 receiving yards. We're going lower on Devontae Adams' 59.5 receiving yards, and we are going higher on Aaron Rodgers' 1.5 touchdown passes. Let me drop my $5 on that. Pays out $33, confirm and locked in. And again, use that promo code GF2. It's as simple as that to build your parlays. Really good, clean interface. If you're in places that don't allow DraftKings or FanDuel bets, I think Underdog is legal in more places than they are. So go check it out, underdog.com. Use our promo code GF2. All right. And now we are going to get to our Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, so I had to change the format, right? Because we have a co-host now and not a guest. So usually we'd have the guest come on, give us some clues, and me and Ryan would try to guess to see which one it is. But since now we're all hosting this, we're going to rotate each week. We're each going to pick a player, and we're going to do it. So tonight, I get the Forgotten Fantasy Player, and Ryan and Chu are going to be the ones trying to guess here. So
I'm so happy we can start bringing them. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
All right, so this guy was a 2nd round pick in the 2014 NFL Draft. He only had 3 years of fantasy relevance. His best year being his rookie season, where he rushed for over 1,000 yards. He had at least 9 touchdowns in all 3 of those relevant seasons, 14, 15, and 16. His best season, like I said, as far as fantasy points, was his rookie season. His second season, he actually had his most touchdowns, though. He had 11 touchdowns. I'll let y'all think for a little bit before I give y'all some more points or some more hints here.
Oh my god, I have somebody in my head. I can think of his nickname, but it's not his name.
What's his nickname? Let's see if you're close.
The law firm.
No.
Bench
No.
Risk Analyst.
You're in the right.
Yes, I couldn't think of his name for the life of me. It's driving me crazy.
That is not him, but that's a really good guess.
Man, haven't heard that name in too long.
I'll give you his college. He came out of LSU. 2004.
Darius Geis.
Nope.
Lacey.
Another good guess. Nope, not Lacey either. He was in a split backfield as well. His backfield mate was the veteran there. I believe he also had 700 or 800 yards rushing that same year as
Leonard Fournette.
Nope, not Leonard Fournette either. It is so he played for technically 2 teams in his career, but the last team he played for, his last season, he only played 1 single game for them. And the team he played for the most in all of his fantasy relevant years was in the AFC.
Was it the AFC North?
It was the AFC North.
Is it Jeremy Hill?
It is Jeremy Hill. Great
Good
job. Good job. Absolutely. Yeah. He was one of those guys that we were excited about, right? I think it was Giovanni Bernard was the incumbent starter there. Everybody thought Jeremy Hill was the next big thing. He had that rookie season, 1,124 yards and 9 touchdowns. Everybody got really excited. Came back in year 2 with only 800 yards, but had 11 touchdowns and then 9 touchdowns in 2016. I think he got injured in that season, and then he only played 2 more seasons after that and then was out of the league. So a very short career there, but it was pretty good for those few years that he was there with him and Gio.
I forgot it was that good. I forgot it was actually that good.
Yeah, it's funny because I did too. Because the way I did it, I was kind of going back through years and looking at top running backs, And I saw Jeremy Hill was like a top 20 running back one year. I'm like, what? I don't remember him being that good. And I went and looked. I was like, oh yeah, look at that.
I remember the touchdowns. I was like, I don't remember him ever being a 1,000-yard rusher, but I was like, okay, well, it happened once. So
Yeah, one rookie season for sure.
Yeah.
All right, great job as a first time co-host there. He gets the guest there. Awesome job. All right, fellas, that wraps up our first show with the 3 hosts. Ironically, Chu told me that unfortunately next week he will not be here with us, so we'll have to have a guest next week to fill in for him.
I quit.
But after that, he will season. One show with us, he's already quitting us. That's how it goes here. All right, let's go around the room really quick. Give us your Twitter handle and plug anything you're working on. We'll go to you first, Chu.
Yeah, well, you can check out, I have the website, fatherdynasty.com. It has my rankings there, which are linked over to Fantasy Pros. And the Substack I have is Faux Football. That's FAUX Football. It's the Substack and a podcast as well, both coming out weekly. And anything and everything will be over there at fatherdynasty.com. But yeah, Jeff, thank you for having me. Unfortunately, I won't be here next week, but I will be here for every week after that, knock on wood. So happy to be here. That's right.
Allegedly.
Good stuff. Ryan, what you got going on?
Twitter, Foss534. Find me here. Find me over at the Rookie Big Board, the Dynasty Big Board podcast.
Good stuff.
On Mondays now.
Good stuff. All right. As always, follow me on Twitter at Jeff Lambert77. And I know I've been teasing it for a while, but it's finally officially launched. The Fantasy Football Hall of Fame, where I've inducted 6 players. Those 6 players are now on the website. Calvin Johnson, Tony Gonzalez, Peyton Manning, Randy Moss, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Adrian Peterson are the 6 initial inductees. You can find that at fantasyhof.goingfor2.com. And we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff during the season. I'm going to be putting out ultimate fantasy teams for every NFL team. So we already have the Dallas Cowboys ultimate fantasy team up there. We got the 49ers already up there as well. And I'm going to be putting out some forgotten fantasy player articles as well, talking about guys that were a little bit under the radar that, had a couple games here and there that we can talk about. So check it out, fantasyhof.goingfor2.com. And there's a place there you can comment and like and the whole nine. And we're going to be doing 6 inductees every year. So we'll be doing another inductee starting at some point next year as well. So hope you can check it out. Again, fantasyhof.goingfor2.com. All right, guys, that wraps it up. For Ryan, for Chu, I am Jeff, and we will see. We'll see you next week. We won't see Chu next week, but we'll see the rest of y'all next week.